some of the younger players obviously got some time, as well as. I know managers or head coaches don't like the expression fringe players, but the players that aren't necessarily playing week in, week out, and you haven't seen them. But just wanted to focus on some of the younger players that were playing that evening. How impressed were you with them and what they achieved on the night? And were you surprised by any of them?
Yeah, I think starting point for me would always be attitude and how they applied themselves. And I have to say, I thought all of the guys that haven't been playing stepped in and showed a really good attitude. Really tried to take on board how we're trying to play and what we'd like to do in terms of style. So I thought from that perspective, was really pleased collectively with all of the guys that stepped in the team. I thought then there was some moments. I thought Jay Bird showed some moments to get out of really tight situations, showed some really good feet to work, like I said, into positions where he could get out of tight areas. I thought, especially second half, Charlie Brown showed some bright moments. Obviously, did well for the second goal. And Charlie, if you get him in and around the penalty box, is dangerous. So I thought he showed that. So overall, I thought I could go through each of them probably and name some of the positives that each of them did. So, like I say, collectively is the biggest thing. It's about the team. And the individuals then within it, I thought performed to a good level. So I came away having learnt a lot from the game and was, like I said, really pleased with some of the findings and how the guys went about it.
And ultimately, you got a result, which is the most important thing. Before you learn lots about your team and the youngsters get an opportunity, you won the game.
Yeah, and this, we spoke after the game, didn't we? I think winning's can become a habit, can become part of your culture, and I think that what we need here is really important. We've spoken a lot about to the players about it. It forms a big part of our training as well in terms of how competitive it is. So yeah, obviously really good to keep that momentum. For everybody in the squad, really important. I think that we come away having progressed in terms of style as the game went on, but also coming away with the win.
Yeah, but have you been surprised? I asked about being surprised about any of the youngsters, but have you been surprised by anything or anyone since joining MK Dons? And what are the key differences between your role now as head coach at Milton Keynes Dons and your former position?
Again, probably not the answer you want, but I've been pleasantly surprised by all of them. I have to say, I think in terms of the biggest thing that me and the staff speak around, and I've told the players it as well, is just a real hunger and enthusiasm, one to play the game but also learn the game. And I think that as a coach or a member of staff's a dream to work with in terms of you can focus on helping them get better, helping them improve, and educating them. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's not necessarily surprised me, but hit me straight in the face, is that these guys want to work and they want to learn, and they're sponges. They want to take on information. So I think it's then important for us as staff to find the right balance with the volume of games we have this season. What we don't want to do is overload them with information. I think there's a real fine line to that, and we have to make sure that we kind of find the right balance of clear heads, and if it's learnt they'll deliver it, versus giving them game plans and opposition analysis. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that's impressed me most around so many of the individuals within the group. Secondly, then, in terms of the role, I think there's a large number of similarities just in terms of structure of obviously a sporting director and then it being the head coach. Quite clear, it's about me and Liam working really closely together to progress the team, evolve the team. Obviously, you saw Peter Chioso came in, which was me and Liam sitting down and kind of going through potential targets and agreeing on who's the best person for the team right now, and we felt he was the right fit for us. So I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of that. I think that the next big thing then is ultimately winning football matches, developing and progressing the team and making them better, and then I'm a big believer that it's about developing the individuals within it. So I think if we can improve the players we have and we can develop them, I think that's real key. And that's probably the biggest similarity I think that I had out in Belgium, was that there's a huge emphasis on team development and player development. So I'd say not so much in terms of differences. I'd say there's a lot of similarities, that's for sure. The biggest difference I'd probably say is just the sheer volume of games. The Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and again we're 3 weeks in now, and we've still only had one full training week in 3 weeks. So it's quite a challenge at times to try and cram all the information in on a Friday, the day before a game, for example. Whereas if you've got a slightly longer lead in, we can obviously drip feed bits in throughout the week. So I'd say that's probably the biggest difference in the role, is just managing the program to make sure that come Saturday, the guys, in the best place possible, physically, mentally, tactical preparation to go and perform and win.
And we spoke briefly about Peter Kioso on Tuesday night. I guess it's always a positive thing to see the fans of the club that he's been loaned from upset that he's left. That's always a good sign, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. He's he had a large amount of interest in him. To be fair, so we've obviously done well, I think, to get him. I think I think it was a good one from us in terms of when you look at Peter, his background, his history with the club. I think he's a really thoughtful player, and what I liked about him was that he didn't want to just jump into it. He actually wanted to think around, was it the right step for his career, for his development. So, and not just come here because he has history with the club and he's local. So I was really pleased that he actually went away and really considered it, gave it some real gave it some deep thinking around, is this the right step for me? And that's why I'm delighted that ultimately he felt it was the right steps. It's great for us, great for the fans. I think it's a really good sign, and it's only going to complement the squad we have.
Liam, how's the injury list?
Too big for my liking, but I'm sure every coach says that when he has one player injured. So he's getting there. Max stepped up a little bit today. He joined in a tiny part of training, so he's progressing. Mo, we've had the results. I need to spend some time with Adam Ross to really drill into what his plan looks like. I think what it looks like nowadays is it's a little bit non-committal in terms of time frames, just because again you don't know how people progress, how they respond to certain treatments, whether it in a positive and a negative light. I think that's one for us to kind of look at and see how that looks in the next few weeks. But he unfortunately has got a slight groin injury. David Kasuma's progressing. He's heading in the right direction. So his knee brace is off now. So that's good news for him and us. So he's on the way back. So a few, nothing crazy. Hopefully, touch wood, it only gets better from now.
Just obviously with Mo out for an unspecified period of time as it stands, will that will clearly change the way that you plan for a Saturday, won't it? With the players that you have at your disposal.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I said to the group when I came in is it's about the squad. It's not about just the 11 that start on a weekend. It's about the squad. It's about making sure that when this happens, because it's inevitable over a 51 game season, that we are going to have injuries, we're going to have suspensions, we're going to have people that are in form, out of form. I think what's really important, and for me is really important, and I think is the players that aren't necessarily playing or haven't played in a few weeks, that mentally they're ready to step in the team and do their job. They understand what their role is and how we play, and that physically they're in the best shape possible to step in and be able to perform. So I think that's why the staff do a really good job to get around the guys that haven't necessarily played in a little while. It's why obviously the other night we tried to give people maximum minutes to make sure their physical conditioning's on top. It's why after every single recovery session, I actually go with the guys that haven't played in the game. So again, can see them, can work with them, can help them. So I think I'm really clear. We need everybody in the squad. It's not we're not going to get through the number of games this season with just 11 starters. So what it does do is it gives an opportunity for someone else to step in and ultimately try and hold the shirt, try and nail their place down in the team.
Just finally for me, Cheltenham up next. Another away trip. How do you see that one?
Like every game in this league, extremely difficult. I think they're obviously when you step up a league and do you take that momentum from the previous season potentially, and they've got off to a decent start. They're an extremely well organised team, well coached, well set up, extremely disciplined. So every single game we have is extremely difficult. And again, it comes back to us earning the right to impose our style on the game, and earning the right to make sure that we do our utmost to come away again with another 3 points. Thank you.
Of course, with Troy on international duty as well, it's almost two holes that you may have to fill in that attacking part of the pitch tomorrow. I suppose the performances of the likes of Charlie Brown and Jay Bird and Josh Martin as well would have impressed you on Tuesday night, and that gives you a little bit of a headache as to which one to pick.
Yes, and it's a good headache. It's probably the most difficult part of the job, because obviously you can only pick 11 and you're having to leave people out. But I try to remind the guys most weeks, most days, that you will get an opportunity at some point. It's then being ready for that opportunity. So that's why for me, the training's so important. The video work's so important, so that people are ready. I think what's really important is the guys are clear. They have an opportunity every single day in training to impress. It's not just when they play games. So observation's really important for me. I'll often step back and watch and assess people and start to build references and pictures on characters as well as players. So them guys stepping out and not being available, like we said, gives another opportunity for other people to step in and bring their contribute to the team from that way.
We saw Harry Darling take over the captain's armband on Tuesday night as well. He was a little bit not flippant about it, but he just said, the team's always about leaders, and this is just an armband. But it must be good to hear that sort of thing from a guy like Harry, someone of his age as well, and knowing that you can look around your dressing room and see so many leaders.
Yeah, and such young ones, which again I think is quite rare, and I think it's something when you watch a lot of football and watch a lot of academy football, or I think young people today, in terms of communication and leadership's not something that's quite. It's not evident, I don't think, in too many young players. So when I look at the group and you've got so many people that are able to do it and do it in different ways, I think that although we've got a young group, I look at so many of them as if they're almost 28, 29-year-olds. They're so mature, so disciplined, such good people as well. We don't really have many egos, which I think is really important. It's an extremely humble group, which I really like. But yeah, Harry obviously stepped up, did it the other night, and arguably, Warren could do it. Matt O'Reilly's done it. David Kasuma, when he comes back, could do it. You go through the team. Ethan Robson could do it. You've got so many people there that are willing to take responsibility and willing to step up, and that for me, for the team's just it's such an important, powerful thing.
You mentioned there that there's no egos and they're all very humble, but I noticed you all went to Mr. Mulligan's mini golf the other day. How many bandits have you got in your team? And I suppose on a more serious note, you've seen them all in training now for a week. I suppose it must be nice to see them in a social environment as well.
Yeah, really good and really important. Again, it was great. Mr. Mulligan's were terrific in hosting us. So it was a really enjoyable afternoon, I think, in terms of being able to see guys in a different light, get away, and I think socially what it helps in terms of creating that culture where everyone's together. Obviously there was a lot of banter flying around, and plenty of bandits. Definitely in my group I had, there was a few that were questionable, I think, that's for sure.
Well, I guess we'll find out by who sat on the bench on Saturday.
Definitely, yeah. Questionable scores, that's for sure.
Hi Liam, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. How are you? You well?
Grand Liam. This is Jim Condon here from RCB Radio Sport Ireland. Liam, I want to talk to you about Troy Parrott, I suppose, since 5 games with the club, 2 goals, 1 assist, one of those goals against the league leaders, Sunderland. Have you sat down with Troy and have you set targets in terms of goals for the season? I expect him Troy to get into double figures?
Yeah, we've had a chat. We've sat down numerous times. I think, it's one we're working through at the moment in terms of definite numbers, which again will stay in-house. We'll keep that between us. I think double figures is something that's achievable for him. Again, he's got off to a really good start since we've been here. I think he's a constant attacking threat, but I also think what he does really bring to the team is, a real honesty. We played Ipswich away, which he comes off slightly disappointed and frustrated because he hasn't scored, but for me he gets a 6 out of 10 straight away just because of the shift he puts in for the team. So I think we're really clear in terms of Troy what he's about. I think it's, yes, score, create goals, but also now you can really trust the defensive side of his game and how responsible he is. So he's done really well. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes for him without putting too much pressure on.
And Liam, in terms of being away and training with an international squad, do you always feel like there's a bounce and try step when he comes back to MK Dons after being away with the international team and going up against the likes of Seamus Coleman and training and stuff like that? That's only going to be a benefit to you and MK Dons testing himself against Premier League opposition, and obviously being involved in situations in terms of match environments, take this week around Portugal and stuff like that. That sort of experience, bringing it back to your own dressing room, obviously must be of benefit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I also think first and foremost, it's a hugely proud moment for him and his family to be able to represent your country. So I think that's a really special moment for him that over and over again is one that he needs to keep working hard to make sure that he stays in the squad. And then you're training with the level of player you spoke about there, or you're testing yourself against an opposition of international level. Again, it's only going to improve you and make you a better player. So although it's a big loss for us at the weekend, I think like you said, he comes back hopefully with confidence, hopefully with a real hunger and enthusiasm, to keep working hard, to improving his game, to keep performing to a consistently high level, to then ultimately, get himself to a level where, he's at a high level where he's playing in, the Championship, the Premier League. That's ultimately what he needs to keep doing. So I think I think it's a terrific opportunity for him to, keep progressing as a player, and when he comes back, it will be, be important he keeps that momentum with us.
And I suppose, Liam, if you look at the top of the League One sort of table at the moment, all the traditional big teams with big reputations, big fan bases, they've all started well. Sunderland, for example, started well. We have Sheffield Wednesday, Wigan, all big clubs. They've all had good starts to the season as well. Big, massive sort of resources as well. So obviously MK Dons a formidable side in this division, but seeing the big sort of reputable teams in division starting well with probably more resources, is that a bit of a concern, or is it something that you expected when you looked at their squads at the start of the season?
No, I think it's still so early on. I think there's still a huge amount of football to be played. I think getting off to a good start's important, but it's not everything. I think I've been relatively pleased given all the change at the club and everything that's happened with how the players have responded. I think we've performed well and maybe not picked up the number of points we could have. So again, I think I'm really clear. It's an extremely long season, huge amount of football still to be played. It's about concentrating on us, what we can control. So how we train, how we apply ourselves, how we go into games, how well prepared we are. I think them things are ultimately the most important thing. So over the course of the year, I'm sure most teams are going to have highs, lows, challenges. How they cope with success. So I think for us, it's concentrate on us, concentrate on week to week what we can, not think too far ahead, and make sure that we keep performing and picking up results.
And Liam, you mentioned the fixture congestion. I was just looking there before you play Wigan on the 19th of November. You've 19th of October. You've 9 games between then and now. A formidable amount of games in any sort of competition. Do you feel there's enough depth in your squad in terms of the numbers to be able to deal with that sort of fixture backlog?
Yeah, we've got a good squad. We have, obviously, like we spoke about earlier in the interview, we have a couple of injured players to come back. So again, I think they're almost like new signings. I think when you can get them back in and you can increase their minutes and get them match fit. So I'm really pleased with the group we have. I think we've got good depth. I think we've got, most importantly, good quality. I think it's about that in terms of having enough players to get through. That the culture stays strong. That everybody plays their part. So when I look at the squad, when I look at the depth, I'm really pleased both with the numbers but also the quality.
And Liam, lastly for me, I suppose in terms of the season, are you a manager that likes to finish the season on good form, maybe in terms of, let's pretend, the sort of playoffs coming in on the back of a really good sort of run and then momentum with you, or you prefer to be in the sort of playoff positions throughout the year and obviously then try and capitalise when the playoffs are? Do you feel momentum is a massive key towards the end of the season when it's deciding the promotion spots and obviously the playoff spots? And I suppose the playoffs would be a requirement or a target for MK Dons this year.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, momentum's huge. I think whether it's now in the season, whether it's at Christmas, whether it's at the end of the season, I think form and momentum's really important. I think with momentum, what you get is confidence. You get relationships. You get connections. So momentum's really important. I think we have some in-house targets which we're working towards, but for me, it's not getting carried away. We're five games into the season. It's around focusing on the now, focusing on what we can control, which is the next week or 2 weeks. So it's making sure that we get that right. We pick up points along the way. Then where we're at the end of the season is ultimately where we're at. So we know where we want to get to. We know what we need to do. But like I say, for me, it's more on the short term. Let's train right. Let's work hard. Let's make sure we prepare correctly so that come Cheltenham tomorrow. That's the biggest thing. Making sure that we do our best to pick up another 3 points.